In this video, we're going to cover the setting up of a Spartan 3D diesel wideband to the 14-in-1 multi-gauge systems. We will show the right way to wire up the Spartan 3D, along with how it connects to the 14-in-1 systems and the settings you need to change on the gauges to let the system know a diesel wideband is connected. To be able to monitor your diesel's air-fuel ratios using these systems, you will also need to have purchased a separate wideband kit. We sell the little Spartan 3D diesel wideband controllers, which come with a Bosch 4.9 oxygen sensor. Once you install the Spartan 3D controller along with the oxygen sensor in your diesel's exhaust, you can connect the Spartan 3D up to the 14-in-1 multi-gauge systems to display your vehicle's air-fuel ratios. Diesels have a wider AFR range required for their tuning compared to petrol vehicles. For example, a petrol vehicle will never need an AFR range larger than 10 to 20 AFR for tuning, where diesels really need an AFR range of 15 to 30. The Spartan 3D has an operating range of 10 to 40 AFR, which covers the wider range required for tuning diesels. If you're wanting to keep an eye on your air-fuel ratios for your diesel, be it you want to try your hand at tuning, or you would like that extra bit of information on how your diesel is fueling above just using EGT alone, then running a diesel wideband into your 14-in-1 multi-gauge system is a really good way to go about it. When you take your vehicle to be tuned, they're not only just using EGTs, they are also using a wideband and tuning based on air-fuel ratios. So next up is how to correctly wire the Spartan 3D's power and grounds, along with connecting it to the 14-in-1 control unit. After this, we will show you the settings you need to change on the 14-in-1 gauge itself. These changes will let the system know you have connected a diesel wideband rather than a petrol wideband. The first step in this process is making sure you have the Spartan 3D wired up correctly. First up is the power. The Spartan 3D diesel wideband uses a dual power source design. One 12-volt input is for the controller's electronics. The second 12-volt input is for the oxygen sensor's heater. Both are fused. The electronics 12-volt is terminal 1, fused with a 250 milliamp glass fuse. The oxygen sensor heater 12-volt is terminal 3 and is fused with a 5-amp blade type fuse. Both cables shown and fuses are supplied as part of the Spartan 3D wideband kit we sell. The dual power design is also accompanied with a dual ground. Terminal 2 is the electronics ground and terminal 4 is the ground for the oxygen sensor heater. We recommend for the electronics ground terminal 2, you run this to the same place you have grounded your multi-gauge system. And for the oxygen sensor heater ground, this must be run to the engine block. Do not run both grounds to the same location. This dual ground setup is designed to be wired this way and will improve the stability of the readings provided by the Spartan 3D if wired correctly like this. Once you have wired up your power and grounds correctly, it's time to connect the Spartan 3D's output to the 14-in-1's control unit. Terminal 6 on the Spartan 3D is the wideband output terminal. You need to connect the yellow wire from the 14-in-1's 4-wire cable, which connects to SP/TA on the control unit. This is the cable that provides source signals for speed, tacho, volts number 2, and wideband inputs to the control unit. So simply connect terminal 6 on the Spartan 3D to the yellow wire on this cable, and then connect this cable to the control unit on the port marked SP/TA. Now once you have finished connecting up the Spartan 3D, it's time to change the settings on the 14-in-1 gauge so it knows a diesel wideband has been connected rather than a petrol wideband, and disable the wideband warning system, which is only applicable in petrol vehicles. The first step in the process to set up the 14-in-1 for the Spartan 3D that's been connected is to enter the system setup menu. So with your hand controller, move the switch down to the set position, followed by pressing and holding the record button until you enter system setup menu. Once in this menu, navigate down to wideband type setting. Now the units by default are set to normal. You can see here we've changed it to diesel, so you'll want to do the same. Press the record button once to highlight the setting, and press the dim button to change it to diesel. So we'll just navigate between the two so you can see that. We're on diesel. Now that you've done that, press the record button once again to save. Now this unit is set for the Spartan 3D diesel wideband as opposed to a standard petrol wideband, and your AFR range will now be set to 10 to 40 AFR as opposed to 10 to 20 AFR when it's set on normal. The next step is to disable the wideband warning feature, which, as we mentioned before, is only used in petrol applications. Without disabling this feature, diesels will have a warning go off when they shouldn't. So while still in the system setup menu, navigate down to air fuel boost limit setting. And once on this setting, press the record button, and with dim, change this to 25 psi. As you can see here, we've already changed it to 25 psi, so dim or peak will increase or decrease. Once you've changed this setting, press the record button once again. And again, still in the system setup menu, navigate down to air fuel type time delay setting. Press the record button again, and change this to 5 seconds. Once again, peak and dim will increase or decrease, and once on 5 seconds, press the record button once again. Now we've finished this part of the setup, so move the switch on the hand controller back up to play, and this will exit the system setting menu. The last step in the process to setting up your Spartan 3D is, as we mentioned, disabling the warning function. You can see here on the screen that a warning has been triggered. This is not relevant for diesel applications, so we do need to disable it. Note, for you to be able to make changes for this next step, the wideband will need to have been connected, powered up and operating. So only complete this step once the Spartan 3D has been completely installed and powers on at the same time as your 14-in-1 system. To enter the warning setup, move the switch on the hand controller back down to set. Press the record button once. You should now be in the warning setup menu. Once in this menu, use the record button to navigate down to air fuel. And with the dim button, change the AFR value to 29.5. Once this is done, move the switch on the hand controller back to set, and you're all done. The 14-in-1 system is now set up for your Spartan 3D diesel wideband, and its air-fuel ratio readings will be displayed correctly on the gauges with a scale of 10 to 40 AFR. If there are any questions about this process or the wiring of the Spartan 3D up to the 14-in-1 systems, feel free to give us a call, email, or reach out via Facebook Messenger, and we'll be only too happy to help.